Hey guys, welcome to another episode of On Air. Today I am joined by Nicki Paterson. Nicki is the Chief Growth Officer at Solutions Driven. First and foremost, welcome to the show, Nicki. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me on, Owen.
Not at all. Great to have you here. And look, we're going to dive into a really good topic actually today. So we're going to be talking about the importance of a growth plan in a business. So we all want to grow our businesses. We all want to be going in the right direction. We all want to be selling more. But how important is actually having a growth plan documented and in place? How important is that to the growth? Why should we have it? And what does that actually look like? But before we dive into topic, what we like to do with our guests is just give them 2 minutes right at the top, because there are people that are listening to this or watching it that may know you. There are people that may not. So could you give us 2 minutes? Who's Nicki and who is Solutions Driven?
So Nicki Paterson, Chief Growth Officer. I mean, what is a Chief Growth Officer first and foremost? I think for me, it's a really polite way of saying head of sales, head of customer, head of the customer experience, head of commercial. So I do wear a number of hats here at Solutions Driven. I'm absolutely involved in revenue. I give myself a target, so I'm in it with my team together. I'm responsible for, at the moment, a team of 9 at various levels, from key account managers to, if you want to call it AE, SDR, if you go down. That team has doubled over the last year due to having a growth plan and a growth mindset. And Solutions Driven are a global recruitment partner right across STEM, so life science, technology, engineering, manufacturing. Been going now for 25 years. Worked with some absolute brand names, your Jabil, Plexus, Amina, etc. But we also work with a lot of startup scale-up companies and some emerging technologies, whether that be 3D printing, biotechnology, SaaS, MarTech, etc. We fill roles in 59 countries. We filled probably 700-800 vacancies last year. So we're a company that does quite a lot. I guess we have a lot of competitors, right? There's a lot of recruitment choices and options out there. And for us, we work roles from mid-level. I would say probably that really senior AE is that entry point. A lot of individual contributor roles, but we do a hell of a lot of, manager, director, VP, executive level roles, as well as kind of a fast scaling projects for clients, which probably fits more into this conversation today.
Makes sense. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to just pick up on something you said, and I just want to ask a question around that. So you said double the team in the last 12 months due to having a growth plan and mindset. A growth mindset, what is that? What is that? What does that mean to you? What's the difference between a growth mindset and a normal mindset?
I mean, you can go to work every day and just go in, clock out, and go home, right? Take your paycheck, or you can come in and say, I'm going to improve today, right? And that can be yourself, or that can be the business. And I'm I'm in a company that wants to grow, and I'm a person that likes to grow things also. I think you can do that when you have the right people, the right process, the right technology, right? I mean, you might have a growth mindset, but a terrible company and you can't do anything with it, right? But for me, after my previous career was a pro soccer player, right, or pro football, right, depending on the audience. I need to stop saying that. And retiring from that, I always wondered, what am I going to do next? What am I going to feel really passionate about? What am I going to do when I'm on a Sunday evening and I'm not, oh my God, I've got work to go to tomorrow? And I guess I'm very fortunate at Solutions Driven that we've got a ton of awesome clients. We do a good job, and you realize when you do that, let's replicate that. Let's do more of what we're doing. There's another market we can be doing. There's another this, that, the next thing. And we've went through a couple of tough years, everyone, I guess, right, in terms of COVID and lockdown and whatnot. And we doubled in revenue that year, and that genuinely just gave us that real confidence. And confidence is probably the right word, that we were different. We were good different. And we then started to put plans in place about how we did more, and so far so good.
Good stuff. I think it's a really good point about you make a choice, don't you, when you come to work? Do you choose to come in and do your job, or do you want to get better every day? I think it's a really nice way of putting it. And that growth mindset informs the choices that you make. Do I hire another person? Do I take more risk? Do I invest more in marketing? Do I go to this event, or do I not go to this event? We're making choices every single day, and it's the mindset that informs those choices that allows you to grow or not. So it's a really, really interesting point. And we're going to talk about the importance of a growth plan. I like to just step back from the subject first and just understand what it actually means, because I think we can make the assumption that everyone knows what a growth plan is. What is a growth plan to you? So I get that you might need some kind of plan. I get that people want to grow, but I'm guessing there are plenty of people that are growing, flying by the seat of their pants, making it up every day. You've got some kind of plan. I think you've talked about a 2-3 year plan there. What does that process look like, and how do you describe that plan?
I mean, let me take a step back or start that from a different angle, right?
Sure.
I'm very, very fortunate that I get to speak to sales leaders and business leaders and HR and talent acquisition leaders, executives every day. So I get to steal, beg, borrow knowledge for fun, right? I don't come up with all this stuff on my own, and I'm part of some amazing networks, Pavilion, etc., right, that people are constantly, and we're just in a phase where people share stuff every day. You can go on and learn and grow by just watching LinkedIn. It can consume your day. But on the flip side of that, you're seeing the average tenure of a VP of sales being 18 months, the average tenure of an SDR being 6 months. If the SDR is not promoted in 6 months, they're raging and they want to go find the next thing. Our growth mindset globally right now is absolutely messed up, right? People are expecting things quicker than they ever have expected things. They've not even hit their own target yet, and they're thinking about the next role. You're seeing VP of sales, from the day they're hired, they're promising the world to get the job, they get the job, and then they go, right, this is not what I expected, or maybe I don't quite have the infrastructure around me to go and build that team. You're hiring a VP of sales and saying, great, your job is to take us from 5 million to 10 million. You're going to double the team, and they go, great, but they've never hired before, for example. And I'm only using that because that's my, our skill set here. And then a VP of sales that used to be a really good salesperson, maybe managed a couple of people, you're now asking them to daily coach individuals, spend 3 or 4 hours of their day building a network, hiring, interviewing, selecting, ramping, onboarding. I just feel right now we're in a spot where so many people are under so much pressure to hit numbers that everything's falling apart. Some of that is VC or investment backed. Some of that is people just coming out with ridiculous, targets and goals, because they go, my best salesperson did 1 million last year. We hire 10 people, we do 10 million. It just doesn't work like that, right? And I hate to say it, but I speak to probably half of the leaders that I'm speaking to right now are absolutely massively behind on their plan. So you ask me that there's economic uncertainties, and there's rising inflation. These things are all huge issues. There's no doubt about it. But people are also using these excuses for not doing their number, and people are not doing their number because they're not being set up for success. So for me, how has that come about, right? I have grown within this organization from the salesperson to the team lead to the manager, etc. And again, I've only been able to do those things by absolutely consuming myself and the people and the data around me. So who did what when I first came in? What was the benchmark? How do I beat that? And what do I do to beat that? Right, once I'm now looking after that team, how can we together, not me, right? Not everybody's just going to be another me, for example. I've never ever thought that way. Everybody's different. But how do you collectively, what are the best tools we collectively think can take us forward? And sometimes as a leader, you need to take some risk and some tough decisions. But then ultimately for me, it's about, if I'm thinking about the plan to go forward, I think back to me. What have we done the last 2 years? Who have been our best clients? What's been the average order? What's been the average time to sale? What's our conversion rate? What's all the metrics that, and some people have 1 million, some people have not enough, but you need to find the right amount that you're not bombarding your team with KPIs. They need to be free, but they need to be very clear as to what your expectation is of them. And ultimately, if I believe, having somewhere between 6 and 8 metrics is about the right number.
Yep.
and then absolutely coaching consistently to improve on the one or two that they need support with. And ultimately you'll find there are common traits and trends within the team, and you can use the team to say, you're the best at that, so help the guys here, etc, etc. So I've never tried to be, this is the Nicki show. I've tried to say, how do the 4, 5, 6 of us work collectively to all improve? I think if you look back and you say, okay, you know, the average is 1 million, you know, but one person did 2. I think most companies, a big failure I see is, you know, they just set that bar just there, and they think, do you know what, if we do 80-90% of that, I'll be happy. But the team think they've had a shit year, right? So it's again, there's that fine balance between pushing someone and them feeling successful. And
you know, can I dive into that? I think it's a really, really interesting point that you're making there. You've made it a couple of times in different ways already. I find the same. So a lot of people are creating growth plans, business budgets, P&Ls, revenue targets, sales targets, individual sales targets, whatever it might be, that are too high. And it's interesting because success is a perception. It's not subjective, it's totally objective. And what might be success for one person, here, I sold 500 grand in a business where the business is expecting 400. Somebody could sell 600 in the same sort of environment, but the target was 700 and be seen as a failure, yet they sold 100k more in the year. And it's really interesting, that dynamic that you create off of what you put as success, and the impact that has on culture, climate, retention of staff, you know, whether they're rewarded or not, all that sort of stuff. It's huge. And I think your point there is that it's got to be a balance, right, between a plan that's realistic and a wish, and understanding the difference between those two.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think somebody can have an amazing year, and you know, they get momentum's key, right? Whether it's life, sport, work, whatever, right? If you get into that, I think a lot of salespeople will be familiar with, you know what, I've sold 3 things in a row here, I can't wait for the next one, give me the next lead, go, go, go. That's not going to happen forever for everyone either, right? And I think it's hard. Also, you know, it is important in our world as well that we don't lowball all the targets and things like that as well, because I've a delivery team that if we oversell, they underdeliver, and that's very, very important, right? So we've had to absolutely work really, really hard on what have we done before, what does success look like, what are the main metrics that I should hold the team accountable for, and ultimately you then need to hire people that want to be part of it. I always think, right, any salesperson is the CEO of their own little company. And it might be cheesy, right? But it's totally true, because if you live in an environment, how many sales environments are you in where it's uncapped bonus or it's 100% bonus, etc., etc. If you're doing that time upon time, you're the person that's getting the raise. You're the person that's getting ultimately some of the promotions, sometimes into roles that you're not wanting or ready for, but that's another story. But for me, I just think there's, to have a clear plan on where you're going, you need to look at what's happened previously. Now, the only caveat to that is you still need to be ambitious. I'm an ambitious person, but I'm a realistic person. So it's kind of a finding that balance. But for me, the only way you can, because you can't just expect that same team to just keep, you know, we had 4 or 5 salespeople for 3-4 years. And every year we grew, more clients, more new logos, more average value order, more repeat business. And you're thinking, without adding any people, we're growing. And we're using a bit more tools and automation and you know, things like that. But there's only a certain level you're going to get from people. There's a certain longevity you're going to get. No matter how well you treat some people, they might get other opportunities. I've been lucky, you know, I've not lost very many in that team. But we doubled that team just last year. Again, from a very logical point. But then that was different, right? Because for 3 months I was hiring, took me away from what I was doing. For the next 3 months I was ramping, that took me away from what I was doing. And you're going to have impacts to that. Most leaders don't think about that. They go, I'll still do my 100 grand a month and I'll get these others to do that as well. You know, you can't be the hero forever. And unfortunately, right now I'm seeing time after time, and it's not even just sales, it's just business in general, that people are behind in their workforce planning. Even just recruitment world, right? You can start the year and say, nobody starts the year and says, I would love to lose 10 people this year and lose 10 million of revenue. Who the hell says that, right? Nobody. Everybody starts by saying, we're at 100, we'd like to get to 120. Here's the hires we would like. Great, off you go.
Yeah.
Some people might want to lean out, fine, but nobody accounts for, oh God, I'm going to lose 2 of my 5 sales team. So whether it's a growth plan, whether it's workforce planning from a recruitment point of view, whether it's a delivery plan or an outcome plan, whatever, I just feel right now there's far too many people getting it wrong.
I agree entirely, and I think you've touched on it already. The importance of being informed by data within your business and understanding the metrics that play a role in growth. So if I put more money into this marketing channel, I already know what pound for pound I'm getting back. So if I put this in and that rule stays the same, therefore I drive this number of inquiries into the business on top of what I've got now. That's a simple example. There are 100 things that you could be measuring measuring as inputs to business growth. Marketing spend over here, marketing spend over there, number of salespeople, activities from those salespeople, conversion rate from those salespeople, and they all play a role. Yeah. And across that process, you make assumptions, right? We make educated assumptions. So I assume that if I spend another 10K on PPC this month, and I'm spending 10K and get 100 inquiries, I can probably fairly logically assume I might get 200 inquiries. Now, you and I both know it's not going to be 200 on the nose. It might be 150 because it's a bad month in that month. Anyway, it's a quieter month. Maybe the spend becomes less efficient as it gets bigger. Maybe it's more because it accelerates and puts you top of mind more often. And there's the on and on of that. We don't know, but we can make an educated assumption, and we can do that across a number of data points in our business. What I'm seeing is organizations who don't have those data points to start with. So the assumption, the breadth of or the opportunity for error in those is big. And if you're doing that across multiple data points, it's multiplication theory, right? If one thing is wrong, it's one thing. If 5 things are wrong and they're being multiplied against each other, the gap can be absolutely huge. So I guess my question is, 1, how much do you rely on data in the business to inform that growth plan? And 2, what are some of the key data points or metrics that you're looking at to plan for the future?
Really good question. I mean, I think honestly, data leads my life in business now more than I ever thought it would do. If I take a step back, right, 3 years ago, we hired a head of marketing that on day 1 blew us away in the interview process. And then on day 1 said, by the way, just so you know, I can't market you guys. We're like, what the hell? He's saying, because you guys are in 50 countries, you're in 20 different industries, you do all these different level of roles, like stand for something. What is it that differentiates you from the 50,000 recruitment companies out there? Because it's very noisy, right? He's like, where do you want me to start PPC? Where do you know? And we're like, well, that's what we're paying you for, right? But he was just making a point, and it was one of the best points he ever made, because we just sit back and go, what the hell are we good at? And how do you find what you're good at? You ask customers. So we ask customers, what do you like about us? What do you not? And then from what customers liked, we got all this data. So we then started to build, marketing collateral around the data that we're good at, and that leads to other things, right? Now, that's just one example. And what happened out of that conversation, we actually stumbled upon creating a recruitment category. Now, no recruitment company creates a category. They just try and win roles and place people, right? But I think we are more set up like a tech company than a recruitment company. That's our mindset. We don't have people doing sales and recruitment. We have people that are good at sales and account management and sales, and we have people that are good at recruitment over here. We've got people that are good at data over here. And that's the way most businesses are run. So we're very similar to a lot of the tech clients that we're like. But our category was recruitment process and intelligence, right? RPI, that's what we stand for. It's our in-house methodology, probably more than anything else. But the recruitment is all about the results. How do we get the results? Process and intelligence. So process is the framework that we put in place for our team to be successful, KPIs, etc. And the data is everything else, right? It's your funnel, it's the number of opportunities, it's the number of. So for me on this, a very different funnel sales to the recruitment side, right? But on the ultimately, it's very, very easy, I think, for us on the sales side. We know the exact percentage of business that we win from the opportunities that we open. And I'm happy to share that, right? I mean, if we talk to 3 brand new clients, we close 1 of them consistently for the last 3-4 years. And it's been creeping up ever so slowly. People right now are evaluating things that they do more than ever. But our existing opportunities, we're closing them at nearly 90%, right? Because people already know you and whatnot. So what I'm not going to do is say, okay, our average is, every deal is 50%. So a new person that comes into the business, your target's 50%. We start those guys at 1 in 4 for the first 6 months, then get them to 1 in 3 and grow and grow and grow based on the data that we've got for the last 3-4 years. And again, for me, it's just simple maths, right? If my team are opening 10 opportunities a month and they're all brand new clients, there's going to be 3 that say, yes, I have an issue right now because you've actually approached me about what my challenges are, right? You need good prospecting to begin with. But 3 of them will talk about something right away. 3 or 4 of them will say, I really like what you had to say, but not right now. And 3 of them will say, we can't work together for whatever reason.
Yeah.
If you do that consistently for 6 months, you've got a pipeline of 250 grand or whatever it may be, right? And it should always be moving up and up and up. That any individual in the business, right? You're either, you can spot the downfall right away because you can see you're either not opening enough opportunities. Let's look at the early part. You're not converting enough opportunities. What are you doing in the middle? What are the reasons for people saying no? Great, that's a coachable opportunity. We use Gong for that. I think it's an awesome tool. I would recommend anyone to use Gong for that, particularly for leaders and people training and coaching and ramping quicker. And then ultimately you've got your average value order. Now those it could be recruitment, it could be SaaS, it could be anything, right? But I guess you could look at, I don't actually say to the guys, you must do a certain number of activity. I think that's BS, right? And I hate to do 100 phone calls and speak to 3 people that day and go home happy. That you need to have a real well thought out omni-channel strategy. To. You do that, then really it's about spending good chunks of time doing quality activity. And I guess there could be KPIs around that, right? But really it's opportunity open, pipeline growth. You need to make sure that pipeline is moving along. You need to see your conversion and then your average order. After that, in our business, we know business, 2, 3, 4 continued business takes care of itself.
I'm interested to just understand your take on the debate around sort of demand versus headcount growth. So this relates a lot into the SaaS market that we do a lot of work in, but I think it's also true in yours that if you've got a certain amount of demand coming in, you can solve that by increasing headcount, right? By increasing headcount, so long as you get the right people. Equally, you can drive growth faster by saying, all right, I'll take 10 people on tomorrow because they'll create the demand. And as you said, they might be less effective, efficient for the first 3, 6, 9, 12 months. But what we do is we drive growth over a sustained period of time. But of course, the risk is higher. The cost of that is high. Now, if you're a SaaS company that's had £100 million funding, you're probably in a great place to be able to take that strategy. If you're privately owned and you're not got quite so cash rich, that's a big decision to go with, albeit you might not do it quite that size. I guess I'm keen to get your thoughts on how you plan around that, because in a recruitment business, there's a temptation to go and take on 5 new consultants tomorrow or new salespeople tomorrow. What's stopping you? Cash flow, yeah, okay, but if those people deliver, your growth accelerates a lot faster than it will without them. But against that is the financial risk, is the risk of those people being wrong, the risk of failure, the dilution of culture, of attention. Your manager, sales manager, whoever it is, you've suddenly got more people, so you're spread across more people, you're less effective. All of these things are going in my head, and I'm just keen to get your thoughts and your commentary around how do you decide not to hire 5 people today or to hire 5 people today, and when is that decision moving as the business evolves?
I think we are a very chicken and egg, right? Because if we want a ton of new clients, we need the delivery team there, the recruitment team there to deliver upon that. And we've always been very conscious that if we oversell and underdeliver, that's the worst thing possible. If you're getting trusted by a company to go fill a executive level position, and I'm like, oh God, I've got nobody there to do it. Sorry, I can't do this. You're not getting another opportunity. So for us, we've got to always balance those things out. We've been very fortunate that we've had a lot of repeat business that has allowed us to then invest in that growth team and really get that right. you know, with a bigger then delivery team, you've got more mouths to feed, so you know that you need to keep them busy then also, right? I think a big thing you said there is that kind of a brand and culture first and foremost. You need to decide, what do you want, right? Because for me, culture can't just be decided. It can be led, and it can be created, and it can be improved, but it can be destroyed with one shit hire, right? And take it back to a football dressing room, all it takes is one bad egg, you know, and they start poisoning other people. Or you've got the best salesperson, but they're absolute nightmare, like, you know, cancer in the room. And if you don't deal with that, people, they'll, you know, what they get away with, you treat them differently, etc., etc. So you need to decide, you know, am I going to really align on what I want and be clear about what we're after and what we're going to do with those individuals? And that's, you know, this is the criteria we're looking for. This is what we're going to go after. This is what we're going to invest in, hiring the best people possible. And we're going to tell them, you know, we're in this together. Here's the LND path. You know, you do all of this for me. Here's what we'll give you, right? Now, that can't all be done overnight. So a lot of times what you see is people just say, just hire 5. 3 of them will probably work out, 2 won't, and then we'll hire another 4, and 2 of them will work, and you grow and you grow and you grow and you grow. And that's kind of a part of the issue right now. There's too many people doing 2 versus 1. For us, you know, we did sit down and say, how would we love to grow? What do we think that we need as a business? And ultimately, I just think, you know, let's just take the sales funnel, right? People just assume now it's SDR, AE, team lead, manager, director, VP. Like, it's a kind of a linear role. Whereas I think nowadays there is, people want to go in other places. There's marketing, there's enablement, there's lead gen, there's loads of different other aspects to it. And we wanted to create pathways for individuals. We wanted people to have different places to go, but we wanted them to be really good at what we hire them for first. So we used to be, again, just 4 sales, and all of a sudden, you know, we started to create not a hierarchy, but just different kind of a path, more of a career lattice than a line. And, you know, brought in people that everybody we brought in had to have some sort of a passion. What's their skin in the game? And that for me has been the biggest difference. I can tell, looking at these individuals and speaking to them weekly, that they care about the outcome of their performance and the team performance. Even if the team hits a number and they don't, they're disappointed. And I love that, right? But they're the people I'm going to break my back to try and support as well. Not everyone, you know, even if you just really need to have the best recruitment process possible, I think, right? It needs to be robust. Whether you do it yourself or you ask someone else to do it, you need to commit the time to say, what type of person's going to do well in this business? What is our culture like? You know, are we remote? Are we not? You know, if you change that halfway through, it's got a different dynamic. You just need to be aligned on you know, the 90% of what you're after, and then you need to, sometimes you're going to get somebody that's been there and done it before, taking that step up. That's where you can afford to take the risk, I think, on that step up candidate that's a little bit hungrier, etc. I mean, how many adverts do you see now, right, that are, we're hiring SDRs, no sales experience at all. We're hiring someone, and by the way, you never need to have done it, just come with a good attitude.
Yeah.
Right, versus the person that says, I want the tried and tested. And again, I think you just need to be really, really clear on the type of person that's going to work based on what you've kind of got in your business already. I think you go back to that startup, scale up, when you've got 5 board members, they've not got any salespeople at all. They're just coming up with the best of what they know from 5 years ago in their career or whatever. So again, it's just putting the right leaders in place to help you through those situations is absolutely key.
Yeah, makes sense. Look, and you talked about the recruitment strategy. It kind of leads me on to my final question very nicely. So, you know, I'd love to just give you the chance to talk about who Solutions Driven can help. I know you've touched a little bit about being reasonably broad. There's all sorts of roles and countries you hire in, but perhaps you could just give us a bit of context around that. Who can you help, and who should be talking to Solutions Driven, and how can they get in touch with you as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's Nicki Paterson at solutionsdriven.com, and I'm on LinkedIn, and you know, I'm always up for podcasts like this as well. I'm on Pavilion. I think I'm easily reachable, right? But I think for us, you know, we don't want to just work with, you know, it's quite easy to run who are the top 100 funded SaaS companies in London, right? And then I could just sit and bombard them all day, every day. We are very much an organisation that has been organic growth, and we typically, you know, say for example, we work with client X, we might approach 100 candidates for that VP of sales role. 50 of them are interested. We interview 30, 20 get to know us very well. 7 or 8 get sent across to the client, etc. Right? We've got our own funnel to give them the best and make their life easy. But within that, you make really good relationships. So a lot of our next client comes from somebody that's been through the process, maybe hasn't been successful, didn't want the role, but they're still hiring over there because we're going after who we believe to be the A player, right? And if all I did was work with the top 100 SaaS companies, I've got no hunting ground. So for us, we prefer to work with companies that we've synergy with, that have similar values, that have, you know, they do genuinely. If you care about your brand, you care about your people, you want to hire people that stay. We offer a 12-month free replacement guarantee. Nobody does that. Yeah. Right. Particularly now when the turnover of staff. If you're looking for, you know, a manager stepping up to be a director, a VP, you know, that level of role, that's absolutely our bag. But I mean, if you're talking that senior AE, that enterprise AE, that diamond in the rough, you know, if you're behind in your hiring plan, I'm absolutely up for chatting as well. We offer the kind of a, we'll fill one role, or we will, you know, we can dedicate your recruiter for a period that helps you fill a number of roles that comes with our methodology, tools, support, etc., etc. So we're very agile in the market, you know, absolutely agile. We're not maybe as rigid as say an RPO who want to do all your recruitment. It might just be a really important sales team that you want to put together, for example, and that's perfect. So if you want somebody to represent your brand really, really well and treat it as, you know, as important as we do to our own brand, that's us. Sounds brilliant. Nicki, thank you so much. Really enjoyed talking to you and listening to your thoughts around the importance of a growth plan and how you make it up as well in the first place, how you build that out and what you base that on. Thank you ever so much for joining us on the show. Really appreciated having you on. And yeah, good luck with the growth plan. Thanks very much, Owen. Speak soon. Bye-bye.